Sometimes people leave things unsaid, and it's not about you, it's about what they can't handle themselves. There are moments in life when words feel heavier than silence. Some people carry thoughts, emotions, and memories like fragile glass, knowing that once spoken, they may shatter, not for others but within themselves. Silence in these lives is not absence. It is presence in its most intimate form. It is a space where emotions swirl quietly, where grief and fear can coexist with longing and love, unobserved yet profoundly alive. To an outsider, choosing not to speak may seem avoidance, indifference, or even cruelty. But within the quiet, there is a complex rhythm, an internal landscape where the heart negotiates boundaries, safety, and self-preservation. Words, after all, can demand more than one is ready to give. They can open doors, but they can also fracture fragile walls we have built around ourselves. In silence, people preserve a part of themselves, holding on to what cannot yet be shared, protecting what is too delicate for the world. It is a silent dialogue with memory, with fear, and with longing. And while it may seem lonely, it is also a form of quiet resilience, a testimony to the human capacity to exist fully, even without explanation. This documentary will explore why some choose silence over closure. It will move through the emotional weight of unspoken words, their roots, the inner conflicts they stir, and the gentle poetry that emerges when quiet becomes a language of its own. Some silences are heavy. They press against the chest, linger in the corners of the mind, and echo in moments when speech feels both urgent and impossible. Choosing not to speak is rarely simple. It is not a casual decision, but a quiet negotiation between fear, pride, and self-preservation. Words, once released, can no longer be taken back. And for some, the cost of being heard feels higher than the cost of staying quiet. In these moments, silence becomes a companion. It listens when no one else will. It holds the fragments of thought that might otherwise scatter. There is a strange intimacy in this unspoken dialogue with oneself. Each unvoiced sentence carries weight, shaping decisions, relationships, and the very way the world is perceived. Even laughter and casual conversation can feel like a betrayal of this inner gravity. Yet, silence is not emptiness. It is a space alive with memory, emotion, and reflection. It is where grief simmers without disturbance, where fear is acknowledged without confrontation, and where longing can exist without being shared. For those who dwell in this quiet, the absence of closure is not avoidance. It is survival, a subtle insistence on maintaining boundaries and preserving fragile truths. In understanding the emotional life of silence, one begins to see that the choice to remain unspoken is not weakness. It is an intricate response to the human heart's most delicate impulses, a way of navigating the world without losing oneself entirely. Silence is rarely born overnight. It grows quietly, shaped by experience, observation, and the subtle teachings of early life. In some homes, words are sparse, emotions measured, and the language of feeling is cautious. Children learn, often unconsciously, that speaking too much can invite criticism, disappointment, or dismissal. Over time, these lessons take root, forming patterns that linger into adulthood. Family dynamics, in particular, leave their mark. A harsh word, a withheld acknowledgement, a love expressed conditionally, all these experiences teach that silence can be safer than speech. It becomes a shield, a way to navigate spaces where vulnerability might be met with misunderstanding. Even acts of love or attention, when inconsistent or unpredictable, can cultivate a deep instinct to protect oneself through withholding. Social conditioning amplifies this tendency. Cultural norms, peer pressures, and societal expectations often reward restraint and penalize emotional openness. Over years, what begins as caution solidifies into a habitual choice, to observe quietly rather than risk exposure. Yet, within these roots, there is also an unintended wisdom. Silence allows reflection, a private rehearsal of thoughts, and an internal landscape where one can explore feelings without interruption. The reticence that emerges from early life is both a defense and a form of resilience. It carries the imprint of past lessons, yet it also offers a quiet strength, the ability to remain whole, even when the world demands explanations one is not yet ready to give. Choosing silence is rarely arbitrary. It is rooted in the mind's intricate mechanisms, woven from emotion, cognition, and the subtle architecture of memory. The human brain constantly weighs risk and reward, safety and vulnerability. When words feel unsafe, when expression may trigger conflict or judgment, silence becomes a natural response. It is a form of emotional regulation, a way to preserve stability when the inner world feels precarious. Psychologists note that silence can emerge from trauma, where past experiences of hurt or misunderstanding shape one's instinct to withhold. Avoidance is not weakness. It is a protective pattern designed to shield the self from potential pain. Similarly, attachment styles influence how one navigates emotional expression. Those with anxious or avoidant tendencies may find closure through speech more difficult, while silence allows them to maintain equilibrium in relationships that feel unpredictable. Cognitive processes also play a role. Rumination, careful weighing of words, and the need for internal coherence often delay or suppress verbal expression. The mind rehearses, edits, and replays scenarios endlessly, and sometimes it decides that the safest action is to remain quiet. Silence, then, is not emptiness. It is an active, deliberate choice shaped by the interplay of mind and heart. Understanding it requires empathy and curiosity. Behind every unspoken word lies a rich landscape of thought, fear, and longing, a quiet testimony to the complexity of human experience. Silence is rarely simple. Even when it is chosen consciously, it exists alongside an undercurrent of tension, a quiet tug-of-war within the mind. There is a part of the self that longs to speak, to release the weight of thoughts, regrets, or unresolved feelings. And yet, another part warns of exposure, of vulnerability, of consequences that may ripple outward. This inner conflict often feels like walking a narrow path between connection and self-preservation. Guilt lingers. Guilt for withholding, for leaving questions unanswered, for appearing distant to those who seek understanding. Longing persists too, a wish that words could bridge gaps, soften wounds, or ease the weight of shared sorrow. Fear, however, often dominates. The fear of judgment, of misinterpretation, of the fragile walls built to protect oneself from crumbling. The paradox is that silence can simultaneously soothe and isolate. It offers safety, a controlled space where emotions can exist without external interference, yet it can also deepen loneliness, amplifying the very vulnerabilities it was meant to shield. In this delicate tension, the human heart learns to navigate complexity, negotiating the costs of expression against the security of quiet. Recognizing this internal struggle is essential. Silence is not a blank void. It is a dynamic, living process where restraint and impulse coexist, often uneasily. It is in this tension that the most intimate aspects of the self are preserved, hidden yet profoundly alive, waiting for moments of clarity, understanding, or readiness to emerge. There are moments when silence is no longer just a refuge, it becomes a question. A quiet observation, an unexpected encounter, or the gentle unfolding of time can bring clarity, revealing why some words remained unspoken for so long. In these instances, the weight of silence is reconsidered, not as avoidance, but as a deliberate choice shaped by circumstances, fear, and inner necessity. Realization often comes subtly. A conversation that is never had, a truth that is held close, or a reflection in solitude can illuminate patterns once invisible. The mind begins to understand the delicate balance between self-preservation and the longing for connection. It recognizes that silence, while protective, may also have limited growth, empathy, or intimacy. At the same time, insight does not always demand action. The recognition that one has chosen quiet is itself transformative. It softens the inner tension, replacing guilt with understanding, doubt with perspective. These moments teach that expression is not always required for validation, that holding back can coexist with reflection, empathy, and self-respect. Realization also opens space for choice. Awareness allows one to decide when words are necessary and when silence is enough. It is here, in these delicate pauses of understanding, that the heart finds nuance, where the human experience of unspoken words is acknowledged, honored, and seen for its quiet, complex wisdom. Living with unspoken words is not a failure, it is a form of quiet resilience. Integration does not mean forcing expression, nor does it require closure in the conventional sense. It is the gentle acknowledgement that silence can coexist with understanding, reflection, and connection. For some, it becomes a way to honor personal boundaries while still participating in life, relationships, and memory. This integration often begins with compassion toward oneself, toward the choices made, and toward the complex emotional currents that shaped those decisions. Recognizing that silence was protective, necessary, and sometimes inevitable allows the mind and heart to rest. It transforms unspoken words from sources of tension into parts of a coherent internal narrative, where every withheld thought has its place and meaning. Integration also fosters patience. The human heart learns that not all conversations need to happen immediately, that some truths require time to be fully understood or safely shared. In this process, silence becomes a living, breathing companion, an intimate space where one can reflect without pressure, feel without judgment, and exist without apology. Through this gentle reconciliation, the weight of unspoken words lightens. Silence becomes less a burden and more a presence, protective, observant, and wise. It is neither empty nor incomplete, but a nuanced landscape in which the heart navigates its own rhythms, finding balance between connection, self-preservation, and the ongoing dialogue that lives quietly within. There is a rhythm to silence, a subtle music that exists between words, between breaths, between the unfolding of ordinary days. In the quiet, life continues its delicate patterns, memories drift, emotions settle, and the heart moves in ways that language can never fully capture. Silence, when understood, is not absence. It is a space for reflection, a canvas where the unseen textures of human experience are made visible. Those who choose silence often carry stories in this private landscape. Every unspoken word, every withheld confession, becomes part of a quiet tapestry, a testament to resilience, thoughtfulness, and careful self-preservation. In these moments, one begins to see silence not as emptiness, but as intentional presence. It is the poetry of restraint, the gentle acknowledgement that not all truths are meant for immediate expression. The human capacity for quiet holds profound beauty. It allows the heart to feel fully, without interruption, and the mind to observe without judgment. In silence, longing, grief, love, and hope can coexist, layered and complex, creating a depth that words might oversimplify. Ultimately, the choice to remain unspoken is neither weakness nor denial. It is a form of understanding, an intimate negotiation with oneself and the world. The poetry of quiet teaches that stillness can carry meaning, that restraint can hold wisdom, and that the spaces between words are often where life's deepest truths quietly reside.